Welcome to the Grow Your Business and Grow Your Wealth podcast with Gary Heldt. Gary is an expert in helping business owners put together a plan that will provide a better future for their businesses, themselves, and their families. On the podcast, Gary interviews other professionals who share his vision, and together they share secrets and strategies any business owner can use to build a better financial foundation for your business and your life.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This week, my guest is Freddie Rappina, and he is the founder of Opta Financial, and he is a seasoned wealth advisor, chartered financial consultant, accredited investment fiduciary, and a retirement income planning specialist. Welcome, Freddie.
All that.
Yes, yes. So Freddie, you have an interesting background. Unlike many people that get into, being a wealth advisor and strategist, they typically, go to college, go work for a brokerage house and so forth, before they kind of hang their own shingle. Talk to us about your background.
Yeah, I was a police officer in Virginia, right outside DC, and around my 12th year, I wanted to really start getting back into finance and really developing something special, and using the knowledge that I've learned, not just in the school, but also practical life
Right.
experience. And so I started a small firm. My office was right next to my police station. I was literally running back and forth across the street for about 7 years there, and it got really big really quick. And and right after I retired, obviously when just did this all the time and could dedicate more time towards the firm, and it's become very successful. I'm very proud of it. But I think it became successful because I was saying something different and not just saying the same old that other financial planners, financial advisors, whatever you want to call us, wealth advisors were doing. It was more, okay, how do we build actual wealth, not just saving money?
Right. How was that transition from being a police officer to now, because again, you're dealing with different people.
Mhm.
Obviously, the questions are much different.
Yeah,
That you're getting. How was that transition, and how did you do it so smoothly?
I would say it's one of the things that I guess I just focused on what was similar, right? Solving the problem, whatever the problem was, being able to provide guidance and help solve that problem, and being a little bit having a little bit less emotion towards the problem and the solution, and being able to say, okay, well, this is what we got to do, so let's go do this, right? And so I think that helped out a little bit, and being able to deal with people, dealing with people's, not just the problems, but also the dreams, right? Being able to see what they want out of this thing, and kind of being empathetic, being able to put myself in their shoes a little bit, and I think those are similarities I'm more focused on than the obviously very different
Right.
elements of the two professions. But other than the time constraints of having two careers at the same time for 7 years with two young kids, other than that, I found it very enjoyable to be in a suit and then than being in a uniform.
Not being shot at anymore. It's different. I guess in a way, there's different shots. It depends on what the market's doing and how your clients are reacting to it.
Well, if you have a plan for both, I guess it makes it a little bit easier to deal with when it happens.
Right, right. Um, so in both, you're dealing with a wide range of people from lower income, middle class, high income. You were dealing with that with both. Is there anything that you're taking from your days on the police force with that to that have now transitioned over into the financial side of things?
Would say just being around wealthy people was what I needed when I was at a younger age, like in my 20s. That was the thing that really helped, and I was able to do that. And also having an evidence-based mindset was, one of the biggest things, where you're not just eating the BS that people are telling you all the time, and you're like, wait a second, let me look under the hood here, see if this is actually working the way this entity, this system, this institution is saying, right? So, um, I once you do that and you really start to look at the financial world a little bit differently, and you're not just accepting what you're saying just at face value, and you actually look at what they're doing, and not that they're doing anything wrong, is that, but there is this mismatch between what they're doing and what they're saying. But it also doesn't, I don't believe, comes from like a place of like greed, or like we're trying to keep it all for ourselves. No, it's more of almost like a paternalistic element to it, where I'm looking at the financial world going, wait a second, are you and I compare these elements to checkers and chess, right? So the financial world is telling people to play checkers, teaching them to play checkers, but then they're turning around and playing chess. They're doing things that are completely different, or sometimes even in the face of their own, of what they talk about. So once I was like, no, I want to play chess too. I want to become wealthy too. I mean,
Right.
maybe not on the same scale as others, but if that's the game that gets it done, I want to play that game. So I've kind of come up with this analogy of checkers and chess, like the middle class is playing checkers, being taught checkers, and the wealthy are playing chess and taught chess. So you just got to understand the different rules of the games.
In going through this, obviously you have a lot of certificates, done a lot of education and things like that. We know you wrote a book. Can you talk about the book you wrote?
Yeah, the book is called Playing the Wealth Game. Looks like this. You can find it on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles, wherever. And I wrote the book to be more of a self-discovery book, where people reading the book, by the end of the book, they should know whether they are a checkers player at heart, whether they're a chess player at heart, and whether or not they want to switch. But I don't say there's anything wrong with checkers. I just say it is checkers, and you can be perfectly happy playing checkers too. You can live a nice life. You can retire, see the grandkids, all that kind of stuff. What you can't do, in my opinion, playing checkers is become wealthy. To become wealthy, you need to switch your mindset over to the chess mindset. So by the end of the book, people shouldn't be screaming at the moon anymore. Why the rich keep getting richer and the poor not? It's, well, you're not playing the same games. These are two like separate games, and even though they're played on the same board, right? So once people understand that, and understand the difference in the mindset, they can reevaluate what they're doing, because we see it all the time with, especially with professionals, even a lot of the ones you work with, where they're working really hard, they're putting in a ton of hours, they're saving a ton of money, and they're not building wealth. They're just running on a treadmill, paying a ton of taxes, as I'm sure you're aware. And it doesn't have to be that way if they just would change up what they're doing. But I want people to know that there are two games. I want people to know that the same companies that I put people's money into as a wealth advisor, are doing these same chess moves on obviously a much bigger scale. But a lot of them still want people just to play checkers.
I think that important thing that you're saying there is changing the mindset.
Hmm?
Because I find that lots of times, with people when we're doing tax planning with them, it's getting them to think differently and stop accepting what I'm going to say mainstream media, the IRS, these financial companies and stuff. Stop accepting what they're saying and push back some and start thinking a different way. because the things that the wealthy are doing, you're allowed to do, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can do, and you have
Hmm.
access to all of the same tools. You're just not accepting that you can do them, and
That's
that's
correct.
a big piece that there is there. Um, in some of this stuff I've read of yours, a lot of people think that debt is bad.
Hmm.
And that you talk about strategic leveraging. Can you
That's
talk
correct.
about that some?
Sure. In my opinion, this is going to be the biggest separator between a checkers player and a chess player is their attitude towards debt. If you're a checkers player, you want to stay the heck out of debt. You want to have no debt, everything paid off, um, and just keep saving money and be able to draw an income stream from that money at a later date and enjoy your lifestyle. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. You just won't be wealthy. Um, to be able to play chess, you need to be you need to be okay with having debt. It's you want to be actually in as much debt as possible without over leveraging. Over leveraging is bad. You can play chess bad too. Um, but having that debt, and when I say debt in this context, I don't mean running up your credit card at Walmart. I mean by using the debt to buy assets that are going to create cash flow, and that cash flow improves your lifestyle, right? So you don't always have to rely on your profession or your job or whatever you got to increase your lifestyle. You buy the assets that's going to increase the lifestyle and lower your taxes. So, but you have to be okay with having the debt, and you have to purchase correctly so the debt can be serviced, meaning paid for by the asset that you're purchasing, and that usually is a piece of real estate or a business. So if but if you do it, if you can handle it, it's the easiest way to build wealth because it does two things. It increases your cash flow and reduces your taxes if you're doing it right.
Yeah, so you're saying, that the two main pieces you're saying are real estate or a business.
With the
So
asset, sure.
if people are they have their, what I'm going to say, full-time W-2 job,
Mhm.
and then you're saying, hey, go ahead and leverage and buy a business. Is there a particular type of business you're talking about buying? Is it something that I'm going to have to operate? What are you talking about?
That's a good question. In that context, it would either be a absentee or semi-absentee business that's able to run where you're able to hire somebody to run it for you basically, or it's an extension of your business, right? So you have a dental practice, you open another dental practice that you are not physically in 40 hours a week, but it runs on its own. But you know the business for obviously very well because you have your own dentist practice yourself. So that, but also the more easier one, in my opinion, is real estate because that's completely passive, hands off. Everybody kind of understands it, right? You own
Sure.
the property, someone rents it out from you, and you take on the rent. You have a hire property manager that manages the property for you. So if you're a W-2 person, usually real estate's going to be an easier path. But if you're a business person, that can expand multiple businesses. But those businesses should also be purchasing the real estate. In the end, the real estate is still going to be on the board, right? It's just how fast are you getting there? Because one of the things I see in my with my clients that are business owners is this is going to sound crazy, but they almost invest too much back into the business, right? And especially when they are the business,
Yep.
like if they went away, the whole business goes away. They invest too much back into the business, and when they could be purchasing an asset, and that asset creates income, and that income can be reinvested into the business. But if that idea that you have fails or your business somehow disappears, well, the assets are still staying around. You still have the rental properties, you still have the other business possibly that has nothing to do with your business. So it's really about getting people to understand how to build wealth. It is not with more hours. It is with more a strategic mindset and getting to understand how to build wealth, especially with taxes.
Yeah. And I mean, again, that goes back to the whole changing your mindset, because if people are doing this, because again, I see many business owners, same thing, they keep investing back in their business and they're doing it out of scarcity
Hmm.
instead of, looking at, it's like, okay, here, let me put this money to work. They have it sitting and saying, oh, well, I got it here just in case. It's like, well, why don't you let it work for you? And, as Warren Buffett says, it's like, okay, my money's making money for me while I sleep.
Hmm.
And I think that's important.
Yeah. So if once you are able to save money, right? Saving money is important, but it doesn't do anything by itself,
Right.
right? Saving money sucks. And I'm one of the few wealth advisors willing
Right.
to say that just out loud, right?
Right.
Saving money by itself is not a good idea, right? Um, because this doesn't grow quickly enough to really do anything. Now, the saving is but it's also a very important part of the equation because once you have the money saved, now you can get the debt. Now you have the leverage to be able to ask a lender for a loan to purchase the asset that's going to create the income, right? So saving is definitely an important piece. It's just that people have been oversold this idea that if you just save money, everything's going to be okay. It's like, no, that's not. That's and compound interest is, in my opinion, one of the most oversold concepts ever. Like, it's just it bothers me. That's how that's how much I believe in it, because compound interest doesn't work the way people think it does or want it to. It works. It's math. It can't unwork. All right. But it's not going to lead you to a promised land because human beings just don't live long enough for compound interest to
Or they don't
create
start early enough.
or yeah, well, even unless you have a ton of money starting out and
Yeah.
early enough,
Yeah.
then starting out early with a ton of money can work. What can't work is either not having the money, even if you started early, still not going to make a difference, or starting later but putting a whole ton of money into that one piece and expecting it to get there. That's probably not going to work either. So, but having it is great. Not using it is even better. Once you have that assets where you can like just plop down a statement in front of a lender and say, "Look how much money I have. I don't want to use my money. I want to use your money. Go in that back vault there and pull out some cash, and I'm going to buy a piece of real estate or a business, and I'm going to pay you back with the income that generates, and you have a surplus, and that surplus I'm sticking in my pocket and spending on my kids' travel baseball plans and my daughter's travel cheerleading plans, right? So because it's the income that really advances the lifestyle, not just saving money. You're just like a human forager at that point.
Yeah. So, obviously you have a different philosophy than a lot of other, wealth advisors. How do you overcome the objections that you're probably getting from people? Because again, you're making them think differently. And some people will be mindful enough to think about it and to maybe make that shift. But I'm guessing that you're running into a lot of people that, well, I've never heard this before. How do you
Yeah,
help them overcome that I'm going to say stigma or whatever?
I show them the evidence,
Hmm.
right? So, um, uh, even simple things like mutual funds, right? That's that's cool. Investing in mutual funds is great, right? But what does the mutual fund company do, or it's technically called an investment company? What do they do once they receive the money? Are they doing the same things, or are they doing something different? Are they doing something in addition to what you're doing? Right. So if you look at some of the largest financial institutions that produce mutual funds, ETFs, that market-based stuff, right? How much real estate do they own? A ton, right? Some of them are the largest holders of real estate in the world, right? But they're hiring people to tell you don't buy real estate; it's too risky, right? Meanwhile, they're the largest holders in the world, right? You look at insurance companies. My goodness, I don't. If I could point to one thing and say, look, this. How in the world can the three largest life insurance companies on the planet, which is New York Life, Northwestern Mutual, and Mass Mutual, three largest companies, great companies. I'm not bashing the companies at all, great companies. But how can they have their best years up until that point in 2020, 2021, and 2022? What they insure is life. Life is dying.
Right.
CNN's got a scoreboard on every single night on how many people are dying from COVID, and the life insurance companies are having great years. How does that make any sense, right? Well, what do the insurance companies buy? How do they invest the money? Their money, right? Well, they purchase real estate, they purchase businesses, they're in the market too, they're all that stuff. But with all the assets and the income that it creates, you you can have a global pandemic and the life insurance companies don't even skip a beat. In fact, have better years than they had previously. So, but are those insurance companies hiring agents to tell you to invest in real estate and businesses? Likely not, in my opinion. So, and I feel like that's the big kind of weird thing about the market right now, that we have so many wealth advisors teaching checkers and for companies that are turning around and playing chess. And it is not like I don't love the market. I love the market, of course, right? And that's how I make my living, is having people having their money invested in the market. But I don't stop there. It is, okay, what are we going to do with this now? Are we going to purchase real estate? Are we going to purchase businesses? How are we going to get income? How are we going to get cash flow out of these investments? And it's not just having the investments grow over time and then selling the assets, which we're selling the investments, which creates capital gains. No. How about we create no taxes by taking out loans, buying passive real estate, which can be depreciated. That cash flow can be depreciated from the real estate, and increase our lifestyle that way. It's just a totally different way of looking at it.
So Freddie, we've covered a bunch of stuff here quickly. What have I not asked you that you wish I had?
Um, I don't think anything. I mean, it just people understand. People need to look around. People need to actually look around and say, okay, this is what I'm being told, but why am I being told it? And is it working? That's the big question. Is it working? Is what they're doing working? Is Checkers working for them? If Checkers working for them and they're happy, it's fantastic, right? And they don't want to build wealth. They're like, I don't care about that. I just want to be able to be comfortable. I want to live a nice middle class lifestyle. And when I pass away, my kids are going to do the same thing. Nothing's ever going to really advance family wise, and we're all okay with that. I'm okay with it then. Go play checkers. And there's like a million wealth financial advisors that can handle checkers. Chess, totally different game. And in my opinion, if you want to play chess, if you're the person you're working with is not investing in real estate or businesses, they're just not the right person for you, because they're not playing chess themselves, and it's going to be very unlikely they're going to be able to advise you on a game that they don't even play.
Show us your book again.
Sure, it's called Playing the Wealth Game. It I wanted to say things that other people in the financial industry dare not say. I think that it just took a little bit of a maybe brash retired police officer to say something out loud that a lot of people know but are afraid of getting fired. I'm not getting fired, but my boss is a jerk, but he can't fire me sometimes. So yeah, so it really just a different way of looking at it, and people need to, if people want to build wealth, they have to understand how to use leverage. They have to understand how taxes really work. If taxes is huge. I mean, it's one of the biggest parts of wealth building is not paying taxes, but people need to change their mindset of not paying taxes actually helps the government. Whatever you're doing legally, by the way, whatever you're doing legally to not pay taxes is helping the government and the general population. Because whatever the reason is, the reason why there's the tax break or the tax benefit is because it helps the government. They don't make rules up for not to help themselves. So you investing in real estate helps the government and getting those tax breaks. You investing in businesses helps because it creates jobs, usually W-2 income jobs, and the government's going to hammer those people. So it's a system built to create wealth. People need to change the mindset on that, and it's not a system to just rip you off. It is a system to help you build wealth. You just have to do the things that they want you to do. And if you do that, you pay less tax. If you don't do those things, free country, that's fine, but we're going to tax you very heavily because we still need to do all this stuff.
So Freddie, if people like what they hear and they want to talk to you, they want to reach out, learn more about you and what you're doing, how can they?
They can go to optafinancial.com. That's OPTA financial.com. In the right-hand corner to schedule a consultation, and they can just book a call with us and see if we're going to be a good fit. We do like working with chess players. We like working with people who want to build wealth and are willing to do the things that it takes to actually do that. Getting to your first million is very difficult, hard, blood, sweat, and tears. Subsequent millions, if you know what you're doing and you have the right guidance, not nearly as hard as getting to your first million. So we definitely like to help those people.
Great. Freddie, appreciate your time today. I think that our listeners, you've given them a lot to think about today, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Appreciate you having me on.
Sure. Hey, this week my guest was Freddie Rappina, and he is the founder of Opta Financial, and I'll see you guys next week.